All right, everybody, welcome back. It's good to see you all again. And today we are talking about the word of wisdom and how the word of wisdom, which is the health code inside the Mormon church, is actually very hypocritical. Super hypocritical. It's the health code where Mormons aren't allowed to drink coffee, tea, use tobacco products, or also then consume harmful drugs is kind of how the word of wisdom is understood amongst people, members of the church. So anyway, what we're going to talk about is the hypocrisy about the word of wisdom, and my I guess you can say my grievances with the word of wisdom. So anyway, let me pull up the actual word of wisdom as it's written in Mormon scripture, a book called the Doctrine and Covenants, which is a book of revelations given to Joseph Smith in the early days of the church. So let me grab that and we'll go from there. Hang on. Okay, here we go. Section 89 in the Doctrine and Covenants. The chapter summary, a little background of the chapter here. Says, revelation given through Joseph Smith the prophet at Kirtland, Ohio, February 27, 1833. As a consequence of the early brethren using tobacco in their meetings, the prophet was led to ponder upon the matter. Consequently, he inquired of the Lord concerning it. This revelation, known as the word of wisdom, was the result. So, starting in verse 1. A word of wisdom for the benefit of the council of high priests assembled in Kirtland and the church, and also the saints in Zion. 2. To be sent greeting not by commandment or constraint, but by revelation and the word of wisdom, showing forth the order and will of God in the temporal salvation of all saints in the last days. Given for the principle with promise, adapted to the capacity of the weak, and the weakest of all saints who are or can be called saints. Behold, verily, thus saith the Lord unto you, in consequence of evils and designs which do and will exist in the hearts of conspiring men in the last days, I have warned you and forewarned you by giving unto you this word of wisdom by revelation, that inasmuch as any man drinketh wine or strong drink among you, behold, it is not good, neither meet you in the sight of your Father, only in assembling yourselves together to offer up your sacraments before him. And behold, this should be wine, yea, pure wine of the grape, of the vine of your own make. And again, strong drinks are not for the belly, but for the washing of your bodies. And again, tobacco is not for the body, neither for the belly, and is not good for man, but is an herb for bruises and all sick cattle, to be used with judgment and skill. And again, hot drinks are not for the body or belly. And again, verily I say unto you, all wholesome herbs God hath ordained for the constitution, nature, and use of man. Every herb in the season thereof, and every fruit in the season thereof, all these to be used with prudence and thanksgiving. Yea, flesh also of beasts and of the fowls of the air, I, the Lord, have ordained for the use of man with thanksgiving. Nevertheless, they are to be used sparingly. And it is pleased unto me that they should not be used only in times of winter or of cold or famine. All grain is ordained for the use of man and beasts, to be used to be the staff of life, not only for man, but for the beasts of the field and the fowls of heaven, and all wild animals that run or creep on the earth. And these hath God made for the use of man only in times of famine and excess of hunger. All grain is good for the food of man, as also the fruit of the vine, that which yieldeth fruit neither in the ground or above the ground. Nevertheless, wheat for the man, and corn for the ox, and oats for the horse, and rye for the fowls, and for swine, and for all beasts of the field, and barley for all useful animals, and for mild drinks also, as also other grain. And all saints who remember to keep and do these things, walking in obedience to the commandments, shall receive health in their navel and marrow in their bones, and shall find wisdom and great treasures of knowledge, even hidden treasures. And shall run and not be weary, and walk and not faint. And I, the Lord, give unto them a promise that the destroying angel shall pass by them as the children of Israel, and not slay them. Amen. All right. So that is the text of the Word of Wisdom as written in section 89 of the Doctrine and Covenants. So the hypocrisy comes in that, so when you're going for your temple recommend interview, with the bishop and the stake president, to get your temple recommend, the obedience to the Word of Wisdom is one of the key points to be able to allow you to go to the temple or to disallow you to go to the temple. So that's a key turning point. And so, the rumor has it is that, 1 cup of coffee will keep you out of the temple, but, a 12-pack of Diet Coke won't. And, a cup of coffee is about about as pure of a drink as you can come across, where the only ingredients are ground coffee and water. And, Diet Coke is basically made in a laboratory with tons of chemicals and everything else that's, been proven subsequently to be harmful to people. And let me give you, for an example, I drink the energy drink NOS kind of on a regular basis. I know it's bad for me, but, we do what we do. Anyway, so I have a can of NOS, not a paid product placement at all, but it's an energy drink that I really like. Anyway, let's see if I could read some of the ingredients here. Ingredients: carbonated water, high fructose corn syrup, citric acid, sodium citrate, sodium hexaphosphate is a preservative, natural preserving, taurine, caffeine gum, Arabic, potassium sorbate, anyway, it's got a whole lot of chemicals in this can, basically, and I'm not condoning it, and I'm not saying it's a wise choice, but it's a choice that I make. But the point that I'm making is that you have that, or you have a can of beer, also not a product placement. Incidentally, I quit drinking alcohol altogether almost 20 months ago, so this, you'll see, is sealed. We keep these in the refrigerator for guests that may want to drink a really lame, cheap-ass beer. So, but here we have, let's see, really doesn't say, but we all know beer is basically, it's all natural. You got your hops, you got your grains to be able to create this PBR, probably one of the cheapest. So probably a lot of rice grain. I don't know how they make PBR. It used to be my favorite, but its ingredients are 100% natural, so you don't have to worry about what the hell is in a beer. Beer is a naturally occurring thing. It's been around for thousands of years. People used it to purify water. You all know the history. But anyway, that's that. So one of my contentions with the Word of Wisdom is that the only reason why the word of wisdom even came about, I mean, in the doctrine, it says that it came about by revelation. Um, but in the actual history of the church, there was what's called the School of the Prophets, where Joseph Smith and his leadership team would meet in this room of the storehouse or something that Joseph owned, a shop, grocery store type of thing. I'm not clear on the history anymore, but it was something to that effect, where Joseph Smith and the leadership met in what's called the School of the Prophets. They would get together and they would discuss religion and doctrines and things pertaining to the organization of the church. Whilst doing that, they would be, uh, drinking, smoking, chewing tobacco, all these things that was traditionally done back in the early 1800s. That's what they did on the regular, and Emma Smith, Joseph's wife, had to come in and clean all that up at the end of the day, and she found it rather offensive and repelling and nasty, which is all true, and Emma's correct in feeling that way. So, conveniently, as it were, like Emma complained to Joseph about, the nastiness of having to clean up after them. And hey, look at this. We have revelation that, you're not supposed to drink alcohol, smoke cigarettes, chew tobacco, coffee and tea. And I've heard, and this could be apocryphal, I'm not sure, but I heard that the coffee and tea part was a jab back at Emma, and that Joseph has to give up his manly vices, coffee, I mean not coffee, but tobacco and alcohol, that Emma has to give up the things that the women like, which is coffee and tea, is the more womanly vice, if you want to put it that way. So it was, what I heard is that, the coffee and tea part was a jab back at Emma and saying, if I have to give up alcohol and tobacco, you have to give up coffee and tea. But hey, let's make it say that it was a revelation from God. Do it that way, a very conveniently timed revelation, in that Emma was, complaining about the cleanliness or lack thereof of the meeting room that Joseph and his leadership met in on the regular. That's a little bit of the history that I've heard and understand over the years. But so getting back to modern times, is that with the word of wisdom, so 1 cup of coffee will keep you out of the temple, but drinking a 12-pack of Diet Coke, drinking energy drinks on the regular, bags of chips, just basically eating all sorts of just crap and junk food and becoming, obese and morbidly obese, that's okay. You can go ahead and do that. But boy, oh boy, don't you drink that cup of coffee. That cup of coffee will keep you right out of the kingdom of heaven, So don't do that, but by all means, indulge in gluttony and all sorts of everything else that's bad for you. So, because there's the positive and negative parts of the word of wisdom, the part where you're supposed to eat meat sparingly, grains, fruits and vegetables. The positive parts of the word of wisdom are in there, and nobody pays attention to that part of it at all. Not even in temple recommend interview questions where, do you obey the word of wisdom? Yes, or no, or whatever. But it's, culturally ingrained into us that obeying the word of wisdom is don't drink coffee, tea, alcohol, smoke, or chew tobacco, or do hard drugs. That's what we're ingrained, is obeying the word of wisdom, and F everything else, go ahead and be gluttonous. It's all good. Here's your temple recommend. That's the hypocrisy that really bugs me. And, and then with modern society now, where, prescription drug abuse is rampant. People are, basically heroin addicts, but they're not heroin addicts because, look, it's got a prescription. I got a prescription from my doctor on this pill bottle, so I'm good to go with my oxycodone on the daily, every day, even though I don't actually need it. It's just that I'm addicted to it, but it's got a prescription, so I'm A-okay with that temple recommend interview question, and thank you very much. So that's kind of the blatant hypocrisy now. Is like, you're got all sorts of addictions going on here, but because it's got a doctor's signature behind it, that makes it okay. But don't you drink that cup of coffee. That cup of coffee will keep you right out of the temple. You're going straight to hell for drinking that cup of coffee. That's the bullshit. That's just like, the hypocrisy runs deep on that big time. Anyway, let me know what you guys think about the Mormon Church's Word of Wisdom, the history of it, how it came about. Did I get it right? Did I get it wrong? Do you have anything to throw in there? I don't know. I don't go to church anymore. I haven't had my name officially removed from the church. The reason why I haven't done that is because it's just paperwork. What's the point? I'm disfellowshipped anyway, so like, what are you going to do? Sign another piece of paper? What's the point of going through the effort of removing my name from the church? I don't care. So, whatever. But let me know what you think. Hit that subscribe button. Hit the like button. Let me know what you think. And I'll talk to you guys very soon. Take care.